The types of conflict, as we are talking through this process, there are four, and Evelyn Sakia is going to give us some examples.
And you too.
Oh, sure, I'll weigh in, of course. We're a partnership, so we can do that.
Yeah.
So the first one is intra-personal conflict. The next is an interpersonal conflict.
Well, let's just talk about the intra first.
Okay.
Because remember, just want to make sure that you understand what that means. Everything starts with the individual. So every day, you have your first conflict always.
Which is?
As an individual, whether you want to meet this world today. Are you getting out of bed? Are you going to answer to that alarm clock or to the rooster crowing? Or whoever else is waking you up? Are you deciding to get up out that bed to make your day start it the way you need to start it? Or are you going to just hit that clock a couple of times, throw it out the window and say, as an individual, I'm doing my own thing. This is a free day. I'm calling in.
So who controls that, though?
Well, that's an individual. That's why it's called
intrapersonal.
That's right, because everything that we do in life first begins with you. You set the tone.
That's right. So Plato said the beginning is the most important part of any work. And then Socrates said, let he or she who would move the world first move him or herself. That's a perfect example of an intrapersonal conflict. And we're saying T-R-A. The next one is interpersonal. So a conflict between Evelyn Sakia and Arthur Theodotus. That doesn't happen, does it?
Well, let's see. Well, it just depends, But it's going to happen regardless of the relationship that you have with an individual, no matter how much you love them, you care, you're so matched together. You're still going to have some conflict. Why? Because we're individuals. We are people, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it's a matter of how we're going to engage it. Right. How deep we're going to go, how bad we're going to go, and how naughty we're going to be with one another. And I don't mean it in a good way.
Right, exactly.
So we want to make sure we keep it above the line, meaning you don't have to hit below the belt.
That's right.
You got to make sure when you care about the relationship, we want to not hit below the belt. We want to try to stay above the area that's going to be hurtful, which you sometimes are not able to mend.
Right.
So let's be mindful of with the respect, but sometimes we're heated. And we're going to talk, why do we get heated in these discussions? Because that has to do with the style of conflict that you're using.
Right.
And when you're waiting too long to use the right conflict model, that's when we really go low, and we don't need to do that. So we want to stay above, and we're going to talk more about that. So yeah, everyone has those.
So you're talking about that in the context of a individual relationship. So three things.
Or wherever, whether it's individual or relationship between a loved one, a friend, at work.
Yes.
They all get a little out of control when we're not using the proper conflict model.
Right, exactly.
And so when we talk about that, you begin to see, oh, so this is when I need to use this other one because I'm already heated.
Right.
So when you're heated, that's not the time to have any type of discussion.
That's right.
So we can say about that Fredo by being calm. And again, we need to be mindful of the things that set us off, and when you're going to tip that hat or tip the other person's hat. Because sometimes, let's understand, ladies, men, transgender, I don't care how we identify, we all tend to do things, we can be spiteful as people.
We can. So let's talk about 3 or 4 strategies that we want our listeners to write down. Number 1, take the high road. There's less traffic up there. Number 2, don't become emotionally hijacked. Number 3, maintain a level of civility and respect, which is what you said.
All the time.
And a term that we have coined called respectful contrary.
Yes.
So don't personalize the conflict. Know that it's a substantive difference.
Yes.
As everyone said, we are different individuals. All right? So those are 3 things. Again, we talked about respectful contrary. Take the high road, there's less traffic up there. And maintain a level of what?
Dignity.
Dignity and take
some civility.
Right, exactly.
And let's keep control. And see, we also have to understand, when we talk about conflict in this particular arena, we need to know who we are and when we're about to go off.
Right.
But it's not when you start that blinking. It's not when you start, that you're twitching. Or when you start balling your fists up. It's late.
Right.
It's really late. So we really need to get down and begin to understand what are your signs for you.
Right.
To know when you are tipping over into that other arena.
Right.
And before you go red, we need to understand the pink.
Right.
We need to know the yellow. We need to know,
right.
Okay, When it makes you go, you know what, then we need to step away.
Right.
So we're going to talk about that too. And sometimes some of us think, oh, I know when I'm heated. When you know when you're heated because you're balling your fist, it's late. So
Right.
sometimes we need to talk to people that know us.
Sure.
Because you'd be surprised. You say, so how do you know when I'm upset? You'd be surprised they'll give you that look like you really want to know. Ask someone today. When you finish with the show, when we're done, you're gonna turn to someone or make that phone call to someone that you trust or someone that knows you.
Right.
And you ask them, do you know when I'm upset? Now you're gonna have to be ready for what they're gonna tell you now because they're gonna tell you. So don't get upset that they know more than you do. But you want to also explain. I want you to know. Do you know when I'm starting to get upset?
Sure.
Not when I'm already there in that house.
Right.
But when I'm starting to get upset, do you know when that is? And I'm guaranteeing you people know this more than you do.
Right. Okay, so the other one, as we
Yes.
continue, is inter-group conflict between two different groups. So it could be, let's say, in a business environment,
Yes.
human resources and accounting,
Mm-hmm.
supply chain and sustainability.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the thing, when that happens,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes people start to choose sides.
Yes.
And folks get into their fiefdoms.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, a conflict between two people, maybe, becomes that intergroup conflict with the two departments.
Right.
Because the folks that are the leaders of that conflict, they start to do what? They want to get allies on their side. And that's very, very unhealthy. But it happens every day in organizations. So somebody is going to have to come to the forefront. We're going to talk about this later on, as a natural organic mediator to try to resolve that conflict. And I'll tell you what, if that's happening in businesses, I rest assured somebody in the C-suite is going to have to make a decision to be an interventionist. Because if the chairwoman or chairman of the board find out about this toxic environment between these two different lines of business, all they're going to say is it needs to cease and desist.
And again, folks, mention business, your organizations. Understand this happens in community events, community projects, community programs. It doesn't matter. It happens in schools.
That's right.
It happens between different departments in school. It could be the sports and it could be the English department. It happens in a variety of locations, and no one is immune to this happening.
That's right.
You know, so just understand you can't name all the places, but understand there's no place that it's not happening. If there's people there, it's going to happen.
It's going to happen. That's right.
Because conflict, remember, is a part of life.
That's right.
That's just how it is.
So the last type of conflict, before we get to the styles, which are different and quite distinctive, is an intra-group conflict. So think about the family reunion that you've been to and the family members that you have. Do all families get along? They don't. So that is an intra-group conflict because the conflict's coming from within. And that happens all the time. So again, somebody's going to have to step up as the mediator, as a change initiator, and try to get all the stakeholders to the table. Here's the thing. You're either at the table or you're on the menu. You're either at the table or you're on the menu. Get the folks to the table. Let's have a conversation. And sometimes it takes that third party / facilitator or mediator to be that interventionist between that family and the inner folks of those families.
And I think we also need to explain, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. What does that look like and what does that really mean?
Well, I think it means that in order to be part of a process of negotiation, which is a form of communication, you have to be a stakeholder who's communicating. You know what? And if you're not, then folks are going to just either undermine you or say it's not important enough for them because they're not at the table. So therefore, they're going to talk about you. They're going to backbite. It's going to become more egregious. It's going to slide out of control. So it's better to be at the table, and that's what a good mediator does. A good mediator will get you to the table so that that conversation and dialogue can take place.
And you don't want to be the person that's always causing all the conflict, the person that's causing the agitation.
But there are professional agitators.
Yes, they are. And then what happens with those individuals like that? Then nobody wants to be involved with them or bring them into a conversation because they're always causing disruption. And yes, there are people that love it.
Eat and breathe that stuff.
They do, but you know what you're doing yourself. If this is you, you're doing yourself a disservice
Right.
because you're going to not be included in some things that would be conducive for you to be involved in.
Okay.
Then people might work around you
Mhm.
because they know how you are and they say, you know what, I'm going to leave Arthur out of this because you know what, he caused too much confusion and we got to hurry up and do what we need to do.
Right.
And we don't want that. You always want to be involved.
Mhm.
And if you're that individual, then you need to work on yourself.
Right.
Or have others help you and assist you to change.
Mhm.
Again, it might be hard because, again, some people who love to stir the pot, that's their attention getting mechanism.
Sure.
That's how they do this.
Okay.
So, but you got to see, is this doing a disservice for you? Are you being pushed to the side? And if you're noticing that, then we need to do some changes. Because remember,
Right.
not everybody likes that confusion.
No.
Sometimes we could take it on a little bit.
Well, it's organized chaos.
It really, and everyone doesn't want to work with that type of stuff, you know. So we got to do some changing with
Okay.
that
Mhm.
and notice if you're doing it a tad bit too much.
Okay.
It's causing you to sit on out in the left field. So we're going to do something a little bit different.
Okay, so at this point, folks, we're going to take a short break. Again, this is KDIV 98.7, the voice of diversity. This is Elevated Dialogue, Evelyn Sakia, Arthur Theotis. We're on Transformational Thursdays.